Most people today know Southampton primarily as a civilian port, unaware of the pivotal role played in World War II. Tourists interested in visiting the D-Day beaches passing through the port on the way to France regularly inquire where the Allied armies sailed from in the UK, not realizing that they have just embarked at the same berths used by the troops in 1944. The story of the vital part the docks played is still lost in the necessary secrecy that surrounded events at the time, and now gives a peculiar slant on the historical narrative, which today sees alternative sites along the south coast as the springboard for D-Day and Operation Overlord. However, one group seeking to right the historical wrong is the Maritime Archaeology Trust. Some may remember that during the premiership of Margaret Thatcher, the civilian liners in the Armada destined for the Falklands War, such as the SS Canberra, left from and returned to Southampton. Yet these ships were following a tradition that stretched as far back as the Boer War. During World War I, Southampton was the principal embarkation port for the British Army. It remained the British Army trooping port, the term used to describe sending the army to various parts of the British Empire, up to and including the Second World War. The ill-fated British Expeditionary Force returned to these shores via Dunkirk and Dover, but initially embarked amidst much pomp from Southampton. But this is where the historical narrative is confused, and the work of the Maritime Archaeology Trust can help. Because of the historical links, some still think Dover was the springboard for D-Day, but to do so is to believe the British deception at the time, to make the enemy think that the second front would be launched at the Pas de Calais. Others believe, because of links with the Royal Navy, Portsmouth was the home of the Armada. But in the Second World War, capital ships were sent to the safe haven of the Orkneys and the base at Scapa Flow, only to rejoin the fleet at the time of Operation Overlord. Yet hiding in plain sight was Southampton, the same reason that make the city the UK's premier cruise port today applied in 1944. Deep water with a double high tide made it the ideal location to launch the assault. During any 24-hour period, up to 50,000 troops and 7,000 vehicles passed through the embarkation yards and docks at Southampton. Yet at the time the plan was highly classified, so never appeared in national newspapers. So how come the enemy never suspected? Various reasons are put forward that attribute the element of surprise of Operation Neptune, the seaborne part of the assault, to the Allied deception, double agents, dummy tanks and fake armies, but these ploys were all predicated on the assumption made by the German High Command that Southampton was finished by Luftwaffe bombing in 1940, a period that still resonates in the city today. The story goes that German prisoners of war arriving soon after D-Day, taken on a boat tour of the port, were left open-mouthed at the transformation since the conflagration of 1940. Der Adler, the Eagle, a popular mouthpiece for the Nazi regime, ran a double-page spread on the success of the Axis bombing raids. Enter the work of the Maritime Archaeology Trust. More than 3.5 million servicemen passed through the port, where there is still a 62-foot wall on the western esplanade with more than 70 names etched by USGIs. A lottery grant of £86,000 has gone towards specialist photography to create an interactive 3D model. The wall enclosed the old town mortuary where soldiers queued. Volunteers used specialist photography with online genealogy sources and US military records to identify the soldiers and learn more about their stories. They are believed to have belonged to Patton's famous Third Army. He had his real as opposed to his fake headquarters in a nearby country house, and there's film record shown here of his men embarking for Utah Beach from the nearby western docks. Helen Wallbridge from the Maritime Archaeology Trust says finding the military record of Kurt Hodges from Chicago proved a breakthrough, as it allowed the names of fellow members of his unit to be confirmed. Looking at the spacing of the inscriptions, it seems plausible that the men stood in a line and carved their names together. It is detective work and a jigsaw, so it's great when you get the pieces to fit and you get a name, she added. The researchers traced the name William Paul Urban and found he also came from Chicago and reached the rank of sergeant. Among others who survived the war, William Mueller from New York went on to become an aeronautical engineer, and 22-year-old Ralph Odom worked in construction before his death in 2008. The Trust has attempted to contact family members of the veterans, providing them with an unexpected memorial to their departed loved ones. The daughter of one said, "My gratitude and appreciation are emotions words can't reach." Thanks to the efforts of the Maritime Archaeology Trust, the wall is now a listed war memorial, although the names are expected to erode further in the coming years.